Thanks everybody for coming. We're very excited to present our event today. On behalf of Barry, myself, Barry couldn't be here, but we'd like to welcome you all to one of our ongoing series, which we call the Lanterra Speakers Series. I think many of you know through our social media that we are celebrating our 25th anniversary this year, back from humble beginnings in 1989. It's like 99. And over that period, we've actually had 25 multi-phase projects. There are 41 buildings altogether. And it's been a great run, and we're actually looking forward and bullish to the future. As many of you know, at any given time, we have quite a few major projects on the go at any given time. We'll talk about that in a moment. But we could not have done that in any way without the participation of the third-party brokerage community. And we work closely with you in order to fuel our market, and that's really what the market is. Now, we are always on the lookout in Lanterra, and we try to be at the cutting edge in our locations, our architecture, our interior design, value. And as a result of that, we're proud to have delivered tens of thousands of units over the years, and basically created a brand that has a value on its own. But looking at cutting edge, it's not just bricks and mortar. It's how we do business. And as you know, all of you, when we started our business, we never would have had a room 25 years ago full of third-party broker agents who virtually sell 98% of our product. And that doesn't just apply to Lanterra, it applies to everybody. It applies to every new condo, new pre-con developer in town, and that's what you have to do in order to get financing. That's the way that fuels the market. And ultimately, you know, we're going through a little bit of a slower time now. It's no surprise to anybody. But on a regular basis over the last 20 years, Toronto was by far the number one market in North America for new home construction of condominiums, and for very good reason, because of immigration, pricing, affordability, like do the whole list. Okay, look forward 5 years. What makes you guys a VIP Platinum agents, right? You started back then where you maybe started with your friends and family, you started with your cultural neighborhood, your community members, but the guys all here are because they discovered social media, they discovered how to market in the future, and you've been very successful at it. How to fish clients from people you never even heard of because they got through word of mouth or what a way you communicated that you could deliver a better condo at first choice, at better prices, with relations to developers better than anybody else, and that's how you attract your clients. It's great, and that's you deserve applause for that. That's great. But what's going to happen in 5 years from now? The world is changing and evolving daily, in a most incredible way. And what attracted you to today's program and what attracted us to create the program was that a lot of it that's fueling it is artificial intelligence. And there is virtually no segment of our business world today that isn't touched by artificial intelligence. As computers got smarter, as the technicians who run those computers got smarter, they taught computers to do all kinds of stuff that, even though you cannot ultimately in the final analysis replace the human intelligence, but if you use computers intelligently and harness their power, it could make you above your competition 10 out of 10 days. We are here today to figure out how that happens, and we welcome you all to join us on the program. In order to do that, we actually tasked our public relations company, Natasha, led PR, and her able team led by Victoria, to help us secure some of the top people in Canada, who I will be introducing there on the stage, to be able to explain to you what they do, how that uses artificial intelligence. And we have a very specific focus today. We're not figuring out how to make better widgets. We're figuring out how to sell condos, and more specifically in the pre-con setting. That's what our focus is today, and that's what we're going to try to explore by way of discussion with some of the top experts. We have a surprise guest because in our flyers we only had 3 guests, but We do have another guest, John Usher, with who we will introduce you towards the end of the program. And the reason he's here today, it's no surprise, but you'll hear what he has to say, is John runs a company who did exactly that very successfully. He harnessed the power of artificial intelligence here in Ontario to do things that nobody else could do. And that sets him totally apart from the competition, and he will tell you how that's done. All right, before we get into the program itself, I would like to, because they're paying the bill, Barry is, to tell you a little bit where we are with Lantera. So you got to bear with me for a second. We are celebrating our 25th anniversary. Many of you are actively involved in selling many of our products. And we actually thank you for our patronage at all given times. We have some very exciting projects that are on the go. Most of them are under construction, are going to be imminently starting construction. We do believe that they're the best value on the market today, and that's whether Notting Hill, that's coming out of the ground. It's going to be at the corner of an LRT stop, which is coming on. We are going to be closing our sales office in the summer because we have to repatriate the park that it sits on, and we probably will have a real estate closing a sales office event type of in June, and then we're probably going to go off the market. We've done very well lately, through, quite frankly, a lot of it very helpful. It's well under construction, and it's a magnificent project. Natasha, who was here today, it's not the person, but we also have Natasha, the building. We will imminently in June start construction. We finally, after a lot of headaches, sorted out with the city. They decided to put a subway under King, so they got the trolleys under Adelaide. And because of that, our historical building, we had to jimmy with it in order not to screw around with the trolley lines. And we've done that. It's going to council. We're scheduled for May. And we will be putting, we sold enough units to sort of start the construction. We did open up just recently at the corner, which is ironically Natasha's old office, our temporary sales office, and they're busy out there. There's still some great deals. But if you compare it to what's on the market today, and you know what's on the market today in terms of price, in terms of product, in terms of everything, when that building is built, it is going to be the go-to building in the entertainment center downtown Toronto, and there still is a pretty good selection. We have two other projects, as you know, which are very much at the front burner these days. One is Schollard, and if you drive by, you could see it. We're up to the 30th floor. It is going to be the most beautiful building in the city of Toronto. The precast is going up, so you could actually start seeing it in real life. We think we're going to be topping off sometime in early fall, with occupancy sometimes later in 2025. We have just a handful of units. Jason's here today, has done an amazing job. It's a different product, it's not an investment product right now, but we have a selection of units left. There's just a handful of them left, but it's, based on the pricing, new projects coming out in the Yorkville area of that quality, there'll be nothing to compare it to. And lastly, the last project that I'd like to take note of is Glen Hill. Many of you participate in Glen Hill, a bit of a different in terms of finishing, very similar to Schollard. We are going to be celebrating the topping off of that building next Sunday, actually. We're getting a little hell because it's Mother's Day, but that's the only day we could do it. But we are giving private tours. It's a very strong local market in in terms of how it's priced and where it's going. And I'm going to be living in the building myself. Most of the people who have committed are users. They're enormously prominent people. When that building gets done, it's going to be a list of people trying to get into the building. Very much like One Bedford, which is down the block and I live in. And it's that kind of building. That's what it's going to be. Lastly, before introducing to the offer, and many of you know this part is part of our year-long celebration. We will be sponsoring a trip to Iceland in November. Now, every developer goes on trips. Okay, we get that. And we kind of invented the genre of doing trips. And many of you have been on almost all of our trips. And there's beach trips, there's exciting trips, there's all kinds of trips. But I could tell you, and if you're guys in the room here, and you could probably raise your hand, I keep asking this question. And probably the best thing that they ever did was a trip we did in Switzerland, where we went to Interlaken on the side of the mountain. I mean, Sam's smiling because he was there. I think I may have lost Lucy over a boat once, right? On a white water, rafting down a raging river on the side of a mountain, Switzerland. And believe it or not, it wasn't the beach in St. Martin, it wasn't Miami, it wasn't New York, it wasn't even the Gherkin in London or seeing the Queen at the Royal Isle. We did crazy stuff. Most people, it energized them because they did something that they would never otherwise do. Iceland's like that. I personally went there a couple years ago. It's a land of magic. It's a very unique trip, and I think that will be a very worthy way for us to celebrate our 25th anniversary. The entry level is not high. A lot of you guys already are in tickets. All you got to do is sell $2 million, $2 million. You get a ticket, $3 million, $3 million, okay? Now, here's a surprise. At the end of this program, you're going to find how to use artificial intelligence to sort of guarantee 200 sales a year in the worst recession, right? However, we are going to be sponsoring the way to do that. And we're going to come up with the greatest idea, and we will share it to those people who are going to be on our trip. So you may have to sell a condo to get on the trip. I'm just kidding, but you get the point, okay? Anyway, it's great to have you here, and now I'm excited to start with the program. I'd like to introduce you first to our main panelists, and I'm calling them the main because they're going to tell you what it's all about. And then Usher will tell you how he used all this to create an animal, and he'll tell us that. You're closest, so I'll start with Carrie. What do you do? Tell me something about yourself.
So I am an AI consultant to several international brokerages, one being eXp Realty. I'm also an AI coach for Realtors. I'm basically your AI expert for the real estate industry. I'm also the founder of the first and largest Canadian AI conference for real estate, launching in September, called AI Revolution. And I'm the person you go to for your questions.
Okay. Adam?
Hi, everybody. My name is Adam Rodricks. I'm the National Director of Social Growth and Experience at KPMG in Canada. Been on the front of tech for a long, long time. I'm also very involved in the education sector. I'm a professor at George Brown College and a published author of a book on personal branding called Trigger Fingers.
Sharon.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon. Currently, I'm the product manager of machine intelligence retention team at CBC, which we are focusing on leveraging the power of AI and ML in content creation and a strategy to make data-driven decision-making. I'm kind of like, in my product role, I'm trying to bridging the emerging challenges and the solution that we have in order to make better products, again, by incorporating the whole new technologies that we are seeing. I'm joining conferences and panels and try to share my insight to inform and inspire others. And like Adam, I'm teaching in the field of AI, data science, and analytics as well at Brain Station. Yeah, that's all about me.
Okay, that's great. I think, there's all different ways to get into this, and we did a lot of thought about how best to start the conversation. And what we concluded was that let's go back to basics. And if you do what I did, because I'm not a computer nerd and I don't know the first thing about artificial intelligence, you sort of Google artificial intelligence, glossary, what do I need to know about it? And it turns out that there's certain terminology that pops up more often than other, and is the building block that you need to understand in order to know what you're talking about. And so we try to pick a glossary of 3 terms that, with a better understanding of those 3 terms, we could then go to the next step to figure out what do you do with it. The 3 terms, so it's not a surprise, is artificial intelligence itself. What does it mean? What does it do? Step number 2, you see this term a lot, maybe a little bit less common as artificial intelligence, but it is a very vital piece, is machine learning. What does that mean? And then the last thing, which ultimately is the ultimate when things come together, is the development of actionable ideas or data, right? So we decided to assign each one of our panelists the job to help you understand these terminologies. We're going to start with Adam on artificial intelligence.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the most hotly debated definitions in the world right now, and it's incredibly intimidating to try and put it eloquently between these two lovely ladies, but it's the ability for computers to not only think, but to learn, right? To go any deeper, I think would be our first debate of the morning, but I'll leave it there.
No, but when you talk about artificial intelligence, why is that different than Google something?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we think about Google, we think about a repository of information. I often love to equate Google to a glorified matching exercise, right? There isn't that element of thinking and learning that you're going to see. So we could think about it in terms of pattern recognition. We could think about it in language models, but I don't want to step on the other two ladies' toes by going much further.
All right, so just in a word, because we got to get to step number 2. Artificial intelligence, the way I understand it, and again, I'm very much a novice in this, right, is using enormous ability that's emerging where you have very powerful computers with very powerful ability to develop software to get computers to do something where humans cannot match that.
Absolutely.
Right? Okay. So that's the big picture, right? But then you use that, and that's like Google 10 years ago when nobody ever heard of artificial intelligence, right? But then we have this new thing that came about that's sort of driving the boat here, and that's called machine learning. And that seems to be Sharon's expertise.
Yeah, sure. So if we consider AI as a more general term, like a bigger, like imagine you have a Venn diagram. This is the bigger like circle within that diagram. And then you have the machine learning as a subset field within that bigger like picture where we use like literally the technical people behind the scenes, because I used to be one of them. So you use algorithms and like statistical models in order to make the machine to learn from the vast amount of data that we have. So it can recognize the patterns and make predictions for you. So if I want to bring an example in a real estate like fashion, which is more closer to you guys. So imagine that you have like a system, you threw vast amounts of data to it, including the like property prices, your clients' behaviors and preferences, what's happening in the economic, and those like algorithms and the statistical models are able to give you, for example, is this the right investment that I need to make or not? So you can be like smart and make decisions. These are happening through these like machine learning algorithms behind the scenes. And as you can see now with the like the advancement that happens, they are like more complex, and we are seeing more like use cases of them. And even with the Gen AI that's like more publicly available, you can apply even to more practical applications in industries.
So I got to understand it in my terms, okay? Sure. You're trying to teach a machine to think like a human?
Yes, that's the ultimate goal. But the point is that like when it comes to the like AI and ML field, there is like some limitations. So the ultimate goal that they call it, I'm going to go to the AI field slightly. We have a general AI that more in the research and development. So we want to have the machines that think like human. They can learn and expand that knowledge on a like any context. But that's more in the like, it's not getting there yet, because right now all the algorithms can be trained with a set of parameters and the data that you provide for them. So they can only like function with those certain boundaries. That's what they are currently capable of. For example, we have recommendation systems. If anyone's have a Netflix, I don't know, like Amazon Prime, like a bunch of them. So all of them, you see that they're providing you with some recommendations. That's exactly what the machine learning is doing. They're like observing your behavior, how you're interacting with the content, and they start to target you with your desired content. So same with I'm going to the real estate again. I go to my Instagram and I'm seeing all of these ads for the pre-construction. That's how they got me. So they kind of observe my behaviors in the social media, in the Google, connect the dots, and try to serve me with the relevant like pre-construction projects. So then probably I'm gonna contact one of the agents and buy. So that's how it works behind the scenes. But it's slightly far from like being a human, because that's like needs more advancements.
Let me tell you what I meant by that, okay? Listen, you see I'm wearing the yarmulke. I'm a religious guy, and we all have our religious thing. But like I'm kind of looking at this maybe at a different prism, right? What differentiates a human from an animal? Because an animal, I don't want to be politically incorrect, very hard to see an animal make a rocket ship, right? What's the human intelligence? Like you take data, and you just don't put it into a stew and stir it, right? You use some intuition, use experience, you use like a lot of things that till now you couldn't teach a computer to mimic human intelligence. I mean, the classic discussion, we're not going to get into it, could you possibly create a chess game that could beat the top chess guy 10 out of 10 times? We could talk about that for 5 hours, I'm not going to get to. But that's the idea. Is it possible for a human to ever, is it conceivable possible to have a computer that could statistically always beat a human? And the answer to that is, could you put enough human intelligence into a computer to beat any possible human? That's the ultimate conversation. But so I think the point that I think I'd like people to understand from this conversation is that with every way you want to describe machine learning, it's using an enormous computing power to not just put something into a pot and hope it comes out, but to be able to input into that the full range of human, almost God-given intuition and intelligence and guessing, and make the computer do that for you in circumstances where the computers are best suited to do that, right? So that's, I think, where we want to leave the conversation with machine learning. Okay, the third thing where that leads to is, that's great, it sounds amazing, but how do you create something actionable out of that?
Yeah, and that's where I come in. That's my specialty. How do we use this technology for our real estate industry, for us as realtors? And the answer is simple. I use it in every single area of my business. Marketing, client communication, data analysis, predictive analytics, social media content creation. I even use it for advice. I use it for absolutely everything. I'm not joking. I improve everything I'm creating. So for an agent, we have to look at, our struggles and our pain points, and how can we solve those with AI? And we absolutely can.
Okay, well, okay, so that sets the stage, right? Now, there could be a variety of different questions that we could ask, but I kind of thought that the focus of today, because almost everybody here in the room who came is, I'll set it up for you, and what I would like you to do is tell us what you would respond to this, okay? Take anybody in the room, you could raise your hands. You guys are maybe somewhat resale agents, but for the most part, pre-con guys. All right, so what's the lay of the land? The lay of the land is, take the GTA or maybe, even the broader Southern Ontario. There's so many condominiums. There's so many potential purchasers. They vary, and so many real estate agents flogging the same product. The product, in some cases, are quite similar. If you have two projects across the street in the entertainment district, and they're both 500 square foot units, unit mix, quite similar. They may have different architects and different interior design. Price points, location, developer, whatever, okay? People are starting to do that. You could MLS, there's people trying to assemble all that information. But there's more than that, okay? There's, where do you get customers from? How do you track customers? How do you harness social media? That's what Adam does, all right? So take anybody in this room, and I'm gonna do a premise. If you don't get on the bandwagon, you're gonna be flipping hamburgers in 5 years. No, seriously. You guys can make a joke out of this, but we practice, okay? So I made this comment. Carrie actually took me for the word, and she said, I could get artificial intelligence to do that too. So she put, like, flipping Hamburg, you made a little bit of a typo there, into your computer, and they redrew the map of Germany, and they put Hamburg on the south of Germany. They flipped it, right? Hamburg, so sometimes computers get it wrong, I get it. But seriously, somebody here, you could raise your hand, anybody, but almost everybody who has the same question, okay? What does it mean to me? How could I guarantee myself that in 5 years today, in good or bad markets, I could sell whatever the number is, 200 units a year in this market? New condos, development sites, GTA, Southern Ontario, with this competition, this kind of banking, this kind of HST, all that kind of stuff, rental markets, all that kind of stuff. What would you say? Take your turn.
Okay, I'll go first. So
I'm going to sit down because now I'm going to let these guys talk.
I want to adjust everybody's mind frame. You need to start thinking about AI as affordable leverage, because that's absolutely what it is, and that's how you're going to use it. And it's affordable to everybody here. We're agents. We are fortunate enough to be in an industry where we don't need a lot of initial investment to break into the industry. However, it costs a lot of money to scale our business. If you're not investing a ton of money into your support staff, your marketing teams, your lead generation, you are not scaling. And historically, it hasn't been possible for those agents that have families to feed and they have financial responsibilities. AI is going to make that possible for you. AI can replace your marketing team, your lead generation company, even your manpower, okay? So I want to think of it first and frame our minds around that concept. And that's how AI is going to help you. It's going to help you in your entire business. That's how it's going to help you make money.
Yeah, beautifully put. I think AI is going to help you to do the things that you're doing today more efficiently so that you can service more clients simultaneously. What I mean by that is you are imperative to this equation. This is not about the destruction of jobs brought about by AI. It's about the disruption of jobs brought about by AI. And to just kind of lean into that lead gen example, I know so many agents who have to wear 1,000 hats a day. How amazing would it be that instead of being some savant of search engine optimization, you have somebody on retainer that can do this for you in real time, but they're not on retainer, right? Because the AI has been trained to glean these insights that you can then harness for lead generation. That's the power.
So if I want to be a little bit more deeper on a practical end, I would say, for example, one simple thing that you can do and what's your clients probably looking for is more personalized recommendation for them. So it's not like the past, you may want to like serve them all with the same kind of like pitches you have. So you want to be more innovative, look into their personal like preferences, their search behaviors, what they're looking for, and try to customize your offerings to them and like be more personalized. And you can scale that up because these are all happening in an automatic fashion. So you are not sitting and manually doing that. The AI system is going to help you analyze all of your data and like create those customized like targeting for you, so you can like address more clients but with more personalized level like interactions. Another practical examples is around like you can provide them and guide them with more data informed decision making. So I know like yes, wherever like the I used to have like more, like I had the experience to work with realtors in the past, but like the point that you can now leverage this AI to show them the possible things that can happen in the future about the property trends. Is it the right investment for them to do or not? So this kind of information is gonna kind of like help you to help them through their like investment journey in a more like effective way compared to the past. And again, you can scale this up because now you have access to this vast amount of information, so you can serve more clients in shorter amount of time, backing to Adam's points around the efficiency and the scaling.
I have something to add. We're talking about AI in what could be a really confusing way for a lot of you in the room. I'm a real estate agent, I am licensed, and this can be really overwhelming. So I want to let everybody know I am the AI expert for the real estate industry, but I have zero computer skills whatsoever, okay? This is not a techie skill that you need to have to use AI. You're all gonna be users of AI, you're not gonna be builders of AI. It's obviously a technological skill to build AI, but it's not tech to use it. It's actually the skill of efficient communication. So if you can think in terms of that, and you're realtors, so if you're not good communicators, you're probably not making any money. And I just want to put that out there because I got to tell you, 2 years ago, I didn't know how to use a Google Drive. I've literally never, ever used a spreadsheet before. I wouldn't even know how to build one. And that is I'm not a techie person, yet I am building AI and custom GPTs for realtors to use. Because AI now, the AI that we're talking about is no code. It's conversational AI. So I just wanted to bring that up before we move on, just so, you know, put that into perspective.
All right, so just picking up on that point. Like I'm listening to what you have to say. We're going to talk about what Lantera's developer could do. I'll take that in a second. But, okay, let's assume you hooked everybody in a room, okay? I heard what you had to say. I'm in. what do I do now? I know, Carrie's in the business, so you could call her up. She'll be happy. No, but seriously, what do I do now? Like, it sounds exciting, I get it, I buy into it, I know if I don't do it, I'm gone. What do I do tomorrow?
I feel like you need to start with your systems and your workflows and look at your business. And because basically we're going to be making all the current systems in your business much more efficient and hopefully automate a lot of them as well. I think that's the first place to start, is to make sure you have functioning and documented systems in your business. I think that's, what do you guys think?
Well, I think we're going to get to John because this is going to be an example of it. But what I'd like to, get out of you guys is, like, you have to position yourself. Just bring up on your point, right? You have to set yourself up so that you have a machine that could actually access the power of artificial intelligence, right? You position yourself. Obviously, you're going to have to call somebody who knows what they're doing, right? And, you'll have to find somebody, and there's, there are people who do that. But how do you get in the door? Like, what do you do? Like I know you'll call you up and you'll do it, but you need certain databases. You have to understand where you are, where you want to go.
Yeah.
You have to, like we spoke to Carrie about a project, just as an example, but you have to feed things into a computer, like in order to get whatever you want out of it.
Or you have to find the systems and the tools that are already in place. So for you, we're going to be building from scratch. If you want to do data analysis or predictive analytics, you have to physically feed the data. But there are existing tools out there that can help you with your content creation or your marketing, or if you want a booking bot to convert your leads. There's stuff available.
So, okay, we're going to keep on going, but part of what I understand you saying is you also have to be very understanding of what your goal is. You can't just say, how does that help me?
Yeah, right? Absolutely. Right. I call it the foundational systems that every agent, and honestly, I've been translating this into several different industries as well. They're all the same. So, do you want me to tell you what?
No. Okay. We got union rule, equal time. So Adam, I understand that you spend probably more of your time on the social media part of this. So maybe address that.
Let's talk about the bane of everyone's existence when it comes to content generation. What the hell do I say, right? And this is an example not of a database, but something that exists online. Why can't we use AI for thought starters, for email writing, to do the things that we were already going to do, but do so efficiently? And then it gets really good when we start to train it in our specific voice. But I know so many agents who would say that video creation, it's a necessary evil, but writing those video scripts is the least impactful part of my day. Can we use AI to make that a little bit more palatable? And the answer is a resounding yes. So we feed in, we give them a scenario. We would go into a custom GPT and basically say to it, these are the parameters. I need to spit out square footage, when this is on the market, what neighborhood it is, and 3 or 4 advantages, go. And amazingly, although it does need refinement, it's not always going to grab it on the first try. It has been very successful at giving us a starting point. And the starting point, when a human has something to react to, is critical.
I want to be crass here, but let me ask you this. Like, I follow all my competitors as a developer, right? And you can't imagine how many hours, I've got people from Montana still here, how many hours we sitting around saying, as a developer, what kind of content creation that would attract the best thing, right? And I see what Tridel does, I see what Center Court does, I see what, just go through the whole list, right? And I get algorithms, very stupid thing I do, right? I still today do not know how I could best create a social media program most effectively and cost effectively. Could artificial intelligence help me on that?
Absolutely, and I think this is on the data and analytics side, where it could...
Just stop before we answer that. Every one of the people in the room would ask that question of what they do.
Absolutely.
Exactly the same question.
Yep. And
Excuse me, can we ask you to speak into your
All right, sorry about that. I apologize. I was just asking, it's Adam that you want to hear, but keep on going. Sorry about that.
Yeah, can you use insights, or can you use artificial intelligence to deepen that offering and figure out what it is that clients want through social media? The answer is yes. And although we started talking about it on the content generation side and how it can make this more palatable, I actually think that the analytics side is where the real aha will come in. Again, the idea of anybody who's ever had to pay a marketing agency to have a search engine specialist, and there's all this data that I didn't sign up to be doing full time, I'm getting someone else to do. Well, what if the AI was always at my beck and call to interpret this data for me?
And you could do that. You could do that.
That's what we're doing already. Absolutely.
Okay, that's great. All right. So again, keeping on the same theme, and then we'll sort of wrap up this part of the program. But Sharon, it's been in our sessions that we prepared. In my mind, I segregate this as finding clients or finding the right price, whatever. We talked about social media, but we did a lot of talking, and I didn't totally appreciate this, but I think it is very important. It was touched on before. It's how to use artificial for the administration of your business, of these people's business. I'll give you an example. Like us at Lantera, we input our agreements of purchase and sale, and there's all kinds of software right now to do that artificially. Somebody told me, my son-in-law is here, we talked about it yesterday actually, about a software program that's the latest rage, that you could put in a 150-page lease, and they'll tell you everything you ever didn't know and everything, through artificial intelligence. How do you use it for these folks here to streamline and guarantee the accuracy of their administration of their business?
Okay, very good question. So there are different aspects you can touch base for your businesses. So one thing, I think probably you have lots of documents and everything. So there are so many artificial intelligence softwares that you can use to analyze the documents for you. You literally pass them the documents, it categorizes the documents for you, you don't have to do it manually or go through them. Even it's capable to make prediction how complete or accurate information is being there. So you literally can reduce your admin tasks from maybe hours to minutes. So that's one way to optimize your work. Then it's come to your interaction with your clients. So you want to make that you, again, serve them within a certain amount of time in response to their emails and requests. So what you can do, you can automate part of those tasks by just having or incorporating a chatbot in your website or your systems that can interact with your clients on a 24/7 basis, and then you can focus on a more complex request that can come from them. So you can again think it as automating part of your task, and then focus your energy on the more important queries that's coming from a client or something more valuable. What else I can touch base? Again, you can use it for getting some insight, those actionable insights that we were talking early on, that helps you to inform about the possibility in the investments. And then you can bring your expertise in conjunction with that in order to offer something better to your clients and customize those, again, interaction with them. So these are some of the practical I would bring in. And I want to touch base on something around the Gen AI for them and what is practical. So one thing that you can, all of you from today can go and expand on it is how to use those Gen AI tools. There is a box in ChatGPT that you can type something, but what you type there is going to impact what kind of outcome you're receiving. So there is a concept called prompt engineering, which it's not a technical thing. It's just how you interact with this technical. And there are different approaches and techniques, and there are so many courses everywhere around them. I suggest everyone take one of those courses, because the way that you communicate them, the outcome that you're receiving from creativity and uniqueness and targeting the right, creating those amazing content is going to be very different. So that's one practical thing that everyone can go and do. And again, there's so many free courses. I can even pass some courses later down the road to be shared with you. So that's one point I want to touch on the other topic.
Okay, great. So let me tell you, we are going to have a short question and answer period at the end of the program, but I would like to take the opportunity to introduce you now to John Usher of Confitas, and I'll tell you how John got here. We posted this program and we got a lot of response, and we were able to fill the room. And oh, sorry, I'm sorry about that. And we posted, and we got a lot of responses, and we filled the room. I get a call from a very good friend, Jared. Raise your hand. So Jared Kalish is a very good friend of mine, and actually I had a little piece of helping him found his company going back several years called Firepower, which started off life really as a debt fund, but morphed more into an equity play. and finds opportunities more than anything else. And one of the offshoots of Firepower, and it's a company that's owned and controlled by Firepower, is Confidas. Confidas started out life, I'm going to let John do the talking, but really focusing on the acquisition of single-family homes in different markets in the Southern Ontario region, primarily, for rental purposes. And the whole thesis behind Firepower to begin with, this is what attracted me to begin with, is they used a lot of intelligence in terms of using data in order to source business, whether it was in their debt business or equity business. So this was like they were at this game in different ways for a long time. But it turns out that Confidas brings it all together. So, and I'm sitting there like, here we have a company who actually listened to all this, figured it out, and created something very powerful, which is first in its class here in Ontario. And it's my honor to introduce John to tell you all about it.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. All right. Yeah, so I joined Confidus back in 2018, and we started, I think everybody well knows, in the U.S., single-family rental was a massive and budding asset class in the U.S., and we wanted to bring it to Canada. When we went out and we met with people like Mark, I don't know if you remember, 2019, very, very long time ago. And I think you and everybody else challenged us to say, well, if you're going to be sitting in Toronto, how are you ever going to analyze and know that there's a house in Belleville that's a great investment? And how are you going to know that the house in London can be duplexed and produce the right kind of return? And how are you going to move so quickly in a competitive marketplace that you'll actually be able to compete, acquire? And how are you going to do it with such a small team? And so by maybe default or necessity, we looked at every tool that was available to us to make us as intelligent as we possibly could, to have the knowledge that sits in every single realtor and every single local community that we possibly could, and then make it actionable. And I'll be totally honest, I'm an accountant, I'm a professional director, I'm not a licensed sales representative. But we had to make systems available so that you could self-serve through the entire acquisition process. Confidus is a licensed brokerage. We're a member of RICO. Actually, we're now a member of RICA as well, so we're part of Alberta. We do have licensed sales reps as part of our team, but we also have a group of people that know how to ask the right question. And I think that's probably the biggest thing about AI, is that if you don't know how to ask the right question, AI is useless for you. But if you know how to ask, or if you know what you're looking for, you could use things like machine learning to help you build stuff. If you know what the output has to look like, you can ask the right questions to get data out. Mark, I'm ready to do some demoing here because I've been patiently waiting.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I would love you to do a demonstration, show everybody how you actually use artificial intelligence, real time, to do what you do. Because we have three top experts, I will let them do the questions and answers of asking you, how this all works, and then we'll put it out to the audience for a final question and answer. So
Great.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So as I do my Vanna White over here to the stage. So I'm actually, I'm an outsider to real estate in some respects. I felt like, being an accountant was the way to enhance my charisma. And I spent 20 years in financial services. I used to lead corporate development, so do a lot of M&A activity and transactions for cooperators and for Royal Sun Alliance. I also became CFO for both of those entities. Now that's very, very boring sort of job titles. And back in 2010, we used to have really big sort of town halls with all of our staff, and we used to give these big long speeches about how data science was going to come to the rescue. And then we would go back to our executive meetings and we'd say, does anybody really know what that means? Like, can we actually use our data? And the funny thing about an insurance company is that if you think about the process of buying a home, where would insurance be in sort of that journey of products that you think is going to be important? It's probably after you've scheduled the moving truck, to be totally honest. It's way down the line. The reality is we had more data to understand every house in the entire country down to a square foot, even understanding the angling of the sun to understand what maintenance costs were going to be on a particular building and knowing the materials that that house was built on. But nobody really cares, right? You're there to buy the property. The thing is, the tools to actually make data really powerful are only now being developed. So that's why I said before, one part necessity as being a new business coming into the country, and one part because we are very entrepreneurial and we don't have a lot of budget to spend with. This has been a 5-year journey, and I want to share some stuff with you here. So I'm not going to show everything. The first thing, I made a comment about being quite rightly challenged to say, if you are going to be representing investors to buy resale properties, you better know your neighborhoods. So what we've actually done, and I hope I'm projecting, yeah, so this is like our own sort of proprietary software. I was generally frustrated with the lack of reporting within real estate. You know, you get your reports kind of a month at a time. Some boards release on a bit of slower pace. You might not actually get your reports until the end of the next month to be able to understand what just happened a month ago. Well, the reality is, and you know it as well as I do, real estate moves day to day. Trends and preferences move exceptionally fast. OSFI might introduce new double interest rate tests back in 2017, and the market dries up overnight. And then you get your report 1 month later, and it says, yep, the market just slowed down. That doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. We felt that we had to understand what is going on in every single marketplace in which we wanted to buy property. So we started to build our own databases, and now what we benefit from is real-time data analytics where we can understand what's going on in the marketplace. New listings, sales, trends, you name it, we're tracking it, we're analyzing it for 54 different communities across across Ontario, and every single neighborhood in Toronto. I show this, and I look at all this data, and I say, well, boy, that's a whole lot of stuff. And this is kind of like the first application of AI that we actually used, and it was in development, okay? I used to deploy rather large technology teams. It seemed like every single project cost us at least a minimum $1 million to build. We didn't have that benefit. What we did have a benefit of was we had some really great technology people, some data scientists, some full stack developers, and we used AI tools to take what would have taken a year to actually build and develop down into weeks. And when we want to actually build tech, instead of days of applications, it takes minutes. So when I sit here and I say, Dave, our data scientist, I need to be able to create an algorithm that's going to find the one duplex that's available for sale in all of southwestern Ontario with the highest cap rate. Find it. Within the end of the day, he'll have some new piece of technology in search where we're going to find that exact house. If I want to find every blue-doored house in the entire country, I'll find it by the end of the day. So that's the first application. The first application is about development and the ability to take things from a matter of years to roughly just a couple of days. This database, though, what I find really amazing is, you probably look at it, you're all very trained individuals, you can kind of see what's going on, you can understand, buyers, sellers, markets. And by the way, the reports that we always got, one, they were always stale dated, like who cares what's going on last month? I want to know what's going on exactly today. I also want to know what's going on with the asset class that I'm currently trying to buy or sell. If I'm not interested in single-family homes and I'm interested in condos, I got to know exactly what's going on in condo land. And if I got a buyer that wants a 3-bedroom home as opposed to a 1-bedroom home, don't give me average numbers around what's going on with condo sales. It's useless to me. I need to know exactly what's going on with that particular asset type. So that's what we've done. But as I look at these, and I begin to use it, in different kind of ways, again, like all you're seeing is bars and charts, and it looks rather big and ominous. What I've actually shown you right here is this little chart is looking at 15 different communities, and it's just telling us, signaling in real time, are we in a buyer-seller's market for condos in all those different communities? So if I was an investor, and I think I can get a good deal. Sorry, Mark, don't look too closely at this. It's a bit of a buyer's market. I think you already know that. But let's say I'm trying to get the absolute very best deal that I can. Now I can begin to focus in on particular communities. It might actually take me out of Toronto altogether, or maybe it forces me back into Toronto, okay? But I'm seeing this. The second application of AI is actually taking this and putting it into actionable items. A whole bunch of bars and charts sitting in front of a client, you're gonna lose them immediately. But if you can train with machine learning for machines to read these bars and charts and interpret what is going on, then you might get a very, very different story. For example, right now, there's an amazing story that's going on in condos, and I'm sure you all know it. This is a buyer's market. There's a lot of inventory, there's not a lot of buyers, but prices are going up. Why? But prices are going up, there's a ton of listings on the market, and there's not a lot of buyers. Why are prices going up? So there could be a whole host of issues. The first thing is identifying what is going on. Where's the anomaly, okay? So we can do that. So all of those reasons, okay? You just taught our next algorithm how to think. Think about what's going on with interest rates. Think about what's going on with people's preferences and tap into those databases so you can begin to understand predictions around price, right? The thing for us is every time we see an anomaly, we have to ask all of those questions and then retrain our algorithms to be able to pull out that information. So the next time we see it, you say, okay, I saw that back in 2018, I'm seeing it again now in 2025. So what's gonna happen, okay? So that's the second application. By the way, all this software, like again, I'm a massive junkie when it comes to data and being able to understand it. Being able to identify all your different asset classes is pretty cool. But the other thing too is also understanding outliers and getting rid of outliers. You know that when you get a report and they says the average home price is $1 million, well, all the luxury houses, they don't really apply. They're their own marketplace. And I'll just kind of show you really quickly. Like if you were to look at, here I've got green is average price, and yellow I've got here is 3-bedroom homes. Those prices move, they change independently of each other, and you have to be able to break it down. Okay, so let's go over to the next piece here, because this is now the actionable so what? Who cares? Okay, you showed me a bunch of squiggly lines, John. It doesn't impact my business. The next is around presentation, okay? So what we do is what you're seeing right now, so think about yourself sitting in an investor's sort of state of mind. What I'm actually showing here, we've probably built the single largest rental repository in all of Canada. And we will track not only what goes on in MLS, but everything that gets posted on Facebook and Kijiji or rentals.ca or name your favorite sort of rental application service. And recognize that in Toronto, MLS is probably the single largest repository of rentals, but as soon as you go to a secondary community, it's not. It's Facebook, it's Kijiji, it's something else. And all that data just goes off and you don't have access to it. We've been collecting it now for a good 4.5 years. Machine learning we use to teach how to apply a rent to a home, so that we can really begin to understand what the yield and the return is. So if it's a condo, what we want to be seeing is, like if this is a condo that is 800 to 900 square feet with a terrace, 2-bedroom, has access to parking and a locker, you name the features. I want to only find the rents that exactly portray those qualities. And there is, of course, you know, one condo on one side of the street is always going to be different than the other. So we train it to see what's going on so we can apply the right rent to the right unit. So we can then calculate gross yield or whatever we want. Here what we're looking at is rental rates. And what I can see here is that, you know, we've got rates that are kind of balanced. They're kind of flat in most of the surrounding areas. Funny enough, we've got this weird kind of bookend thing here where we've got rental rates that are growing in the west and the east end, and right down through the corridor, we've actually got rental rates that are declining. Sorry, Mark. I hope that's okay. But it's interesting. Now I know, as a salesperson, I can make an intelligent response to anybody's objections. I can talk about future appreciation. I can talk about whatever. The piece is that we're slowly starting to chip away so that me as an individual user can understand what's going on with trends on my own. Okay, let's go a little bit deeper here. Yeah, well, let me go deeper. So on that presentation, that was 30 days, okay? However, let's refresh everything here. So here's rentals. Here, let's go super specific. Let's go condo market rentals. Okay? So let's pull up a couple things here. Let's pull up rental rates for all areas. Okay, this is all of Toronto. Okay, so here we've got a very long time frame. This goes back to 2021. So we're able to actually track and monitor what's going on with rental rates. By the way, this is all of Toronto, so it's all of those areas, but we can go right down to the individual postal code. We're also tracking and monitoring here things like rental distribution, because, you know, if I give you a rental average number, there's going to be higher quality units or preferred locations that will be able to garner higher rents, and there's also going to be areas that have lower rents. By watching the distribution of the rents, you can also begin to understand where there's customer demand. Like if you see these charts skew off to the right to the lower value rentals, it means there's not a lot of demand. But if you see them skewing off to the right, where you've got these really, really high, like you can see here, on one bedrooms, see how this chart looks nice and sort of perfectly distributed? But you've got this running tail that goes off here to the right, even more pronounced on the 2 bedrooms. You begin to see there's client preferences here. A client will only pay so much rent for a studio. They're willing to pay just a little bit more for a 1 bedroom. They're willing to pay much more for a 2 bedroom, and well beyond the average. So this is the kind of stuff that we like to see. You asked me the question, what's the time frame? I mean, the way that we built this system, you can look at it. Here we've got 60-day, 90-day. Let's look at it at 120. You can look at it however you want. The other thing I also like to be able to do is change the distribution. Let's get rid of all the outliers so you can see like a true rental potential. Okay, search. I think a lot of times we're always looking for search. We look at it from an investment perspective. What we actually do is, this isn't machine learning, but this is just like crunching a number. This is embedding an Excel spreadsheet directly within the model or the application right now. And what we're doing is we're actually calculating cash flows live in real time with APIs set up to mortgage rates. So we're taking real-time rents as they change, real-time sold prices for specific units. We're taking actual today's mortgage rates, and then we can begin to effectively analyze the whole marketplace. So let me just give you an example. So if we go through here, there's 3,434 properties in total. We can now analyze on a cash flow basis wherever there's available data. Now we can bring that down to a much smaller piece. And now we can actually just go directly in and look wherever we've got a cash flowing property, a resale property. Here's the next application of AI. We are actually using ChatGPT for content creation. Okay, we talked a little bit about marketing campaigns and all those kind of things, and that's great. Like I'm doing a presentation to a bunch of accounting high school students. And I was asked to do a business case. Well, I don't have time to write a business case. So I asked ChatGPT to write me a business case. And I gave it all the parameters, and it did it. The CPA people don't know that, so don't publish that anywhere. It's supposed to be new content for them. But that was a massive, big time savings. You talked a little bit about how this won't take away jobs. I'm not so sure. This will take away jobs. If I think about, if this was someone on my team and I have to create content, I am now building content myself because I know what I want it to look like. I don't have the time to write it, but I know what I want it to look like, and I know the themes that I want to hit on. So now I can begin to create those content. This is ChatGPT embedded directly in a listing, and you can see here it gave a little bit of sort of description about the house and some of the returns. That's the easier stuff, because what we do is we connect it to our own proprietary databases to be able to pull out those kind of metrics. But let's say we want to actually do something a little bit more, like let's say I'm a foreign investor and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with the neighborhood. Tell me more about the neighborhood. And so what this is doing is now it is pulling from our databases and all other databases that we have connected it with to come up with a description about this neighborhood. I personally don't know anything about the Wexford Maryvale neighborhood. If someone asked me to produce some content that could describe it in 40 words or less or 30 words or less, it would probably take me the better part of a morning to research it, to find something that was applicable, and then to put something together that might actually make sense. Whoops. Is this a good investment? If I could spell, it'd be even better. And let's see what it says. Absolutely. So what it's starting to do is it's going through. We have trained it to say, I want you to look at very specific things. I want you to look at cap rates, which our system has calculated. I want you to look at industry cap rates, which we have inputted. I want you to look at appreciation in the past history. I tell it how many years I want it to look at. What is a good investment strategy for this property? If I don't know, if I'm thinking, well, am I a BRRRR type person? Am I a buy and hold? Am I a conversion? What am I? What is it telling us? Buy and hold strategy. And then it goes on to explain why you should be thinking about that. So think about it from a condo perspective. Why is this property on this block a good investment as opposed to the other development that's going on the next block? If someone has to ask you that, you have to stop, you have to think, you have to spend the time to put that answer together. Instead, we train it and we tell it.
In case of properties for multiple offer, it's not the price that is going to sell. It's listed below the market price. Why is that software?
Yeah, so we have a couple other different pieces of software. One is a predictor, where we actually will go through, we can identify where a particular property was listed compared to everything else that has sold in the more recent time period, which gives us signals to say this house has been underpriced. The prediction then says there's a good chance, there's a higher chance that this individual property is going to go into multiples because it has been priced aggressively. And then I struggle with the predictive piece, because if I told you this house is going to sell predictively at 1.1 million and it sells at 1.125, you're going to say, you see, I told you it was wrong. But it's the directional. I can identify this house has been mislisted. I can identify what's going on as far as volumes of sale activity in the neighborhood. And I can begin to have a reasonable expectation of this is going to go into competition and you better be ready. In our systems, we will give us a predicted price. The predictive price I use more as a gauge to how heavy do I have to be in my negotiations? How competitive do I have to be? Do I have to get really competitive, or can I just sort of, I'm always trying to win a deal by $1. I'm trying to lose by $1 million. I'm trying to win by $1, right?
Okay, could I just stop for a second? It's already 1:45.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
not sure how much you have left in your presentation, but I do want to give an opportunity for question and answers, and the general also, because I think a lot of people have questions. So where are you?
Let's go to our biggest venture.
Okay.
So we've been using a lot of AI tools, like I said, it's really to make our lives easier. I didn't show you, we have another piece, what we call auto offer. Auto offer allows us to put out 100 offers in a day. if we want to on properties. We're programming our systems to be able to say, there's 100 properties that got listed today that are worthwhile bidding on, and with 3 or 4 clicks, I can have 100 offers out the door. You talked about replacing people. I don't need people to now do that. I can do it on my own. Out of necessity, making sure that all of these administrative sort of things that slow us down, whether it be compliance, whether it be forming an offer, whether it be doing all of the collection of materials and documents and sharing of documents with lawyers, we'd automated the entire process for our investors. Keeper is our new launch, and we just launched it yesterday. Keeper is providing clients now a choice where they can self-direct their acquisition of a home. It's taking all of those machine models, all of that algorithm, all of that understanding of taking what sits in the minds of every individual realtor, trying to make sure that it is then actionable so that people can then buy their home. And I'll give you a really quick example. So it's really simple. We don't deal with search. This is for an individual, and we all know them. You know the house that you want to buy, you just want to buy it. The ability to go through, self-direct themselves to actually book visitations, or more importantly, to actually begin to formulate their own offer. Being prompted, so think of this like TurboTax. So like I said, I'm an accountant. I do a lot of tax work. I do not like doing tax work. I love TurboTax because it's based on what's happening with you and how you want to move through and complete your taxes. We're doing the exact same thing now here with Keeper. You know, we walked through an understanding of who you are, who's going to go on title, what offer amount do you want, immediately searching for and grabbing comparables. These are all our AI tools. Let's say, you know, I want to put a price in. You know, pick your closing date. That's a pretty simple, easy one. But I'll stop here. You know, here what we're doing is we're giving one metric, which is identifying that we're sitting in a balanced marketplace. But in the back, what we're doing is a lot of the stuff that we talked about earlier. Is this a high demand neighborhood? Are there a lot of bids that are going on? Can you get to a conditional offer? Is the market environment correct or is it not correct? And then telling the user, like in this case we're saying here, buyers should consider including a condition in the offer when the market status is balanced. This is directly tied into all of our data, and it's now telling you. So you can build and formulate your offer to make sure it's being done correctly. So think about the amount of time that saves. And it's an empowerment of an individual to actually go through the whole process and buy the home themselves. Okay, now I'll stop.
All right, so John, you know, maybe I would ask you to take a seat because we are going to be opening it up to questions for a few minutes. But I think initially, I would like to address our panel because you guys are experts and maybe you could react to what John's presented. Just before doing that, I would like to say, anybody here in their business, several years down the road, once everybody else figures out what guys like you are doing, are going to be ending up doing the same kind of thing with these tools. And if they don't, they're going to be at a very serious disadvantage, obviously, right? It's not just single family rental homes, it's whatever, right? And quite frankly, our focus today is condominiums. So anyway, I would first like to invite members of our panel to sort of maybe start a conversation with John, and then I would invite members of the audience if they have any questions.
Okay, so first I want to start out by saying that this is a wonderful tool. The technology is on point. I have a question before I make a comment, and where are you getting your data from? Because the analysis is only ever as good as the data. And when we're dealing with multi-res investment properties, there's a serious lack of availability of sales on MLS, correct? I'm a commercial agent, so I don't put anything on MLS. And one of the biggest problems with the largest commercial database in North America, CoStar, is the lack of data. So where is your data coming from? Are you locked into Tehrani? Are you locked into Geo Warehouse, or is this all board?
Yeah, so we focus on residential, not on commercial. I know there's an enormous amount of challenges on commercial. It's very difficult. The data is dispersed. CoStar really is the kind of seems like the only authority when it
And
comes to
they're
data.
awful.
Yeah, and well, it's a membership that contributes data in,
Yeah.
and then you share in the membership's data. So whatever gets put in is as good as what you're going to be able to get
Yeah.
out. We are a licensed brokerage. We are a virtual office, so we do, as every brokerage does, has access to MLS data. That is a component. Funny enough, I think the data on MLS is pretty good. It's pretty well organized, but again, you're sort of left to the issues of, well, if the listing agent included something properly, then it's going to be good. You know, a lot of times I look at condos and the square footage seems to include all the balconies. Well, it's not really square footage, but depending on how somebody put it in, it can sort of mess up a lot of your analytics. So MLS is one. We build our own databases. I mentioned the rentals. Rentals is a big one. You know, there are 3x number of rentals that sit outside of MLS that sit inside. So if you depended only on MLS, you're missing a very, very large percentage of the overall marketplace. So we've been building that database for 5 years. So the answer is it's a combination of where data is available on MLS, we will use it. Where it is not available on MLS, we will go and either build that database ourselves or access something that might be reasonable.
Okay, that's great. I also, what you've built is amazing. I'm already doing this at a very high level in my own business and teaching agents how to do it. I believe you're all real estate agents in the room, right? Obviously, you don't want to lose buyers. You don't want to lose clients. I would get on board with AI and learn it quickly, because it is the most important skill that you can learn right now. Because if you can do what this machine does, and also create and maintain a valuable relationship, you will beat this every time, okay? So that's my advice to you.
So actually I have a question regarding the pain point you might be facing as part of the tool that you built about the predicted prices, and they may not be the landing prices at the end of the day. So are you have a plan to incorporate the feedback around the prices and then use it as something that you can add to your database in order to, again, improve of like those predicted prices and like make it more accurate for the clients that who are using these tools?
Yeah, so like I said, if I told you this house is going to sell for 1.1 million, chance, and if it doesn't, even by $1, you'll say, I told you. So, okay, I'll take that feedback. But if I said 1.1 and it actually sells for, I'm just making up a number, 1.6, like why was I so wrong? Something is happening. And in COVID, we saw that. All of our predictive models were saying, yeah, this house is going to go over, but it would sell for $500,000 or $1 million over. And what we were missing was, you know, the demand pressures that were happening. So those things you can sort of auto-correct for. The things, though, that we're really after is to be able to understand client preferences, okay? So right now, and we were talking about this before, like 5 years ago, if the whole house was gray, and the floors were gray, and the walls were gray, and the cabinets were gray, my God, people, you know, would pay anything to get into that house. That was a very, very strong preference at the time. Now, if I see gray floors, it's going to be a problem to move that house. It's now gold fixtures or black fixtures, or it's some other sort of preference. Being able to see and understand those preference trends and then be able to put a prediction on top of it of will this house sell is, I think, where we would like to be able to keep going. So there's some machine learning that could help there. The flip side is also, and I don't know, I'm a bit of a do-it-yourselfer. If I see the house that has all the problems, it's missing an extra closet, or the bathroom is totally outdated, that's the house I want, because I'll go do the work myself. So there's two things there. There's understanding the preferences of the individual for what they want to buy, and then there's understanding the market preferences to be able to understand what the market price is going to be.
John, I think while everybody was seeing this for the first time, I was looking out at them and their reactions, and I think I saw apprehension, to put it lightly. So my question is, if we know that we're not removing the human from the interaction, what's the most important way to harness the power of a tool like this to reach your clients?
Okay, so here's the point where I think, do I want to agree with you to be nice, or do I want to be controversial?
Be brutal.
Or do I just want to like read what's going on in the marketplace? I don't know if the marketplace needs somebody to buy a house. And I'm sorry, but it's true. Yeah, I appreciate the room that I'm in, and that's a very difficult message to hear. I'll give you a little bit of back experience. So in the early 2000s is when insurance products started to go direct. And I sat in a room very similar to this, and we talked about how we were going to do direct sale of insurance products, which I would consider to be quasi-complex, along with banking products, and we're going to sell them directly to customers. And first of all, I thought my tires were going to be slashed in the parking lot because they were saying, this is our livelihood. And we said, no, don't underestimate your clients. Can they understand it? Can they understand it with the tools they have available to them now? Maybe not. Can we build tools to make these products easier to understand, to self-buy? The answer is yes, and we did it. Amazon is amazing. Started off selling books. I never, ever, ever thought I would buy clothes online. I don't go into stores anymore. I went to the mall the other day because I think I got lost. I don't buy anything. Everything is bought online. Insurance, I talked about. Banking services, online. Brick and mortars are going away. Buying a car. So we've got a really good marketing team. Personally, like my stress relief was always going for test drives in cars so I could like check them out. I thought it was great. I never thought I'd buy a car. I got a son now who's 17 years old and I want to buy him a car. I don't have time, and there's a Jeep on clutch that I'm probably going to buy. I'll never have seen it. Housing is the last thing where can you buy a house online? You know, we got to chip away. We have to make sure that people are empowered to be able to do that. We have to make exceptionally complex data analysis and make it super simple for someone to understand. The example I gave there was, should I be giving a conditional offer, yes or no? There's a lot of thought that goes into, should I, for this particular house to be successful on a bid? But the answer is, you can get to it. Now, for the people in the room, you're all top agents, you wouldn't be here. I gave the example of the insurance side. Now, the answer is, in the US, 45% of all insurance, auto and home, is bought online. But that number also means 55% goes through an advisory channel, okay? There are segments of the marketplace that want to do things themselves, and they will seek out those models to be able to do it. There will be people that want advisory and want help in the purchase of their properties. We're servicing the people that want to do it themselves. You can enhance yourself to service those people that want advisory. And by the way, the answer was for the top agents, those top insurance agents, the ones that were really, really good, their books quadrupled. It was the ones that provided low advisory. Tick box, sign here, buy this. Those are the people that exited the industry. So again, I don't mean to be controversial, but the answer is customers want choice. They will find paths that fit their behaviors and buying patterns. We're trying to capture a platform where people can buy the homes themselves.
Okay, well, that's great. I would maybe invite one or two questions. I think the members of the panel will be in the room for a bit of time, so you could have your own questions, but maybe I'll just field one or two questions and we'll call it a day. Go ahead.
First of all, Mark, this is a great event, wonderful speakers, and a terrific topic.
Thank you.
There's a lot of change in the real estate brokerage industry, which is further advanced in the United States. And I'm wondering if you guys have noodled the problems and the solutions where sellers and or developers and they aren't going to be able to pay the buyer's agents anymore, and the commissions are going to be separated. Very similar to everywhere around the world except in North America. Do you have any thoughts and comments on that?
God, NAR? Are we talking about NAR right now? Listen, okay, if it happens up here, and there are lawsuits going on right now, so Trez is protecting us a little bit, but in the grand scheme of things, we could end up in the same situation as the US, and it's all about your unique value proposition. How are you gonna raise your unique value proposition? What are you gonna offer your clients? How about you offer them new tech? I think they're pretty wowed about that right now. I think it's a good solution.
Can I respond to that?
Sure.
I think that NAR lawsuit is terrifying.
Yeah.
They lost it in the US and it wasn't even close. Okay? And what does that mean? It means now, well, what is the model? If I'm a buyer rep, I now go ask for my commission to the seller. Do I ask my commission from the client? Do I do something in the middle? I don't know. If it happens here, and I'm willing to bet it does, who is going to be the low-cost provider? You as a buying agent, are you ready to spend every single living Saturday to go out and maybe collect $1,500 from your buyer? Maybe. We see that coming. I think that's a real possibility. I mean, we built this program, or this platform, to try and be a very, very low-cost provider and have the same outcome, which is buying a home. I think that NAR lawsuit is very scary.
Yeah.
So I have a question regarding AI-created content. Would AI-created content be penalized by Google for organic searches?
I believe it is. Is there not an invisible watermark that is being penalized right now? I feel like, Sharon, would you know more about this than me? I've read some things, but
Okay, I'm not sure about like if it's like penalized or not from like algorithmic perspective. There is a chance they may do so, but literally there's so many conversation happening about like how you use the AI generated content within your work, like and how you want to make the credit goes to the actual channels that have been created. For give you an example, like Adobe Firefly, they are using a watermarks for all the images that have been generated through the AI. So if you pass it through the system, it's actually saying this is like created through what systems. There are so many conversations happening again around like how even like the data that we are using to train this Gen AI, how we want to, because these are the data that like out there from a text, image to like videos and audios. So how we can make sure that like the correct credit goes to the people who even provided the data at the first place. Because like similar to what you're saying, if the data is not there, literally you cannot solve any problem. You cannot generate anything. So I'm not sure, like I cannot 100% answer the question, but there is a possibility because of all the conversation that's happening about like ethical AI and how we are using it for creating content.
yeah, I use a tool. It's called undetectable.ai. It will humanize your content, rewrite it, humanizing it. So it's a really cool tool. I only use it for anything on blogs because of the SEO. I don't use it for socials or anything like that.
Okay, a couple more questions and then you'll be able to ask the panel questions here.
Yeah.
But just go ahead.
What you built is really fascinating, honestly. It's my question, you never talked about it. It's about the data security and privacy. Like when consumers are putting that much data in your system, and I think it's a little bit scary part of the AI, which no one is talking about it. Everyone's talking about the glorious and beauty of it. But what's your concern on that?
Yeah, so you know who is a real leader on privacy is Amazon, AWS. So I'd like to say we use sort of privacy and security tools that we've built ourselves. We don't. We go to best in class to be able to collect information, secure our sites, store all information where it needs to be. I think giving up a credit card online is a whole lot scarier.
Amazing panel, amazing presentation. A big fan and hopefully a collaborator and client of many of the panelists. I have one point to make, and I want to make it on respect of the people that have built this business in this room there's a big difference between insurance and real estate. Insurance is a contract that provides for mitigation for risk. But I don't know too many people who, if they buy the wrong house and they have a faulty roof, they haven't had the right agent who understands the neighborhood, when the house was built, the quality of construction, being able to promote a Lantera-built building against many other developers, the quality of what they do, who they are. That's what real estate is, and that's what the people in this room make sure consumers really understand. And there isn't a piece of software that can replace the compassion and care of the human condition.
No, that's a great comment. And I think I would echo everybody in the room. Just personally, I don't think all this is going to replace the good agents. It will probably impact a lot of the guys who just walk out there without thinking. It will, I'm pretty sure, strongly empower the guys who are ahead of the curve. That's how you got here to begin with, because you were ahead of the curve 10 years ago. And the purpose of this panel today was to get you into this world, to start you thinking. Anyway, I would like to thank everybody on our panel and everybody who attended. I think it was great. If you have more questions or get introduced, we'll be hanging around for a bit. Thank you very much, everybody.